I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 150, How to Reclaim Your Life After Infidelity. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down my method, the post-infidelity growth method, which I have trademarked. In my method, there are 5 milestones that have a strong intention and strategy behind each one. Before I jump into each of these milestones and break them down here, I want to take just a minute and do a quick introduction for any of you who are new around these parts. I know I get new listeners a lot, and I want to just say hello. I'm Andrea Giles. I have now been the host of this podcast for nearly 4 years. I came into this space by my own experience on the front end. I was in a marriage where there was infidelity and all kinds of other things. I decided to leave that marriage 11 years ago at the time of this recording. 6 kids. I had always been a stay-at-home mom, and he was a successful lawyer, did well in his career. It was very, very scary for me to leave that marriage, but I knew that I needed to. I knew that it was no longer going to be a good environment for myself or for my children, and so I left. And just 7 months after the divorce finalized, he was killed in a car accident. So our worlds were rocked again. He was only 39. My kids were ages 15 down to 5. Fast forward a little bit, I got remarried to a widower who lived in Montana, picked up my kids, moved to Montana, where I became a stepmom to 5 more children and became a grandma. A year after that, to one of those stepchildren, she had a baby. And I now, at the time of this recording, have 4 grandchildren and 1 on the way. If you do the math, we had 11 kids between us. And then a few years back, I had the surprise of my life where I found out I was pregnant and had another baby. So we have 12. We have 12 children between us. 6 of mine, 5 of his, 1 of ours. I came into this space because I didn't know how to heal. I didn't know how to get better. And I set off on a mission to learn how, because I was dealing with so much pain in my own life. I went to all kinds of therapy. I went to retreats. I did a lot of different things. It wasn't until I was married to my now husband and about a year in my marriage that I was introduced to coaching. At the time, I was going to school to be a therapist and completely switched gears because it totally changed my life. Like, it was so much more helpful to me than anything I had done before. I went all in. I did a certification and have done several since, specific to infidelity, specific to relationships. I'm in a year-long, pretty intense certification right now. Anyway, you've come to the right place. I have experience in my own life, and I've now been coaching for 5.5 years or so, helped lots and lots of women. And with that, let's jump into these 5 milestones, okay? Now, I mentioned that there are 5 milestones that have clear intention and strategy to each one. Why the combo of intention and strategy? We are meant to heal. Our bodies and minds are meant to heal. Our hearts are meant to heal. And when we give our minds and our bodies and our hearts the best support, we expedite that healing. Now, when we get physically hurt, we can have really great intentions for healing and really want to heal. But we might not actually heal properly if we don't have the necessary strategy or skill. Just this morning, I was looking at my knee. I have a scar on my knee that I got when I was 7 years old. I was playing out in a field. I got tangled up in some barbed wire and it cut my knee open pretty deep. Although my parents had the intention of helping my knee heal, I have a pretty good sized scar. Why? Because even though they had the intention, what it needed was stitches. I needed stitches. I needed medical attention. And instead they put a Band-Aid on it. What I needed was some stitches, some better cleanup, right? And I would probably have a much less noticeable or no scar at all. It's much the same as somebody who breaks their arm. We can kind of do what we can to help that arm, not use that arm, but sometimes that arm needs a professional who knows exactly what to do, who sees it all the time, who is not shaken by it, who knows exactly how to handle it, to reset that arm, to cast that arm so it heals properly, right? So it's not just a matter of having good intention. Intention is a big deal, but it's also learning the skills and the strategies to healing in a way that's going to be sustainable and will impact your life forever, okay? This episode is going to be breaking down my process and teaching you each part of what is required to deeply heal and reclaim your life. I encourage you to stop and pull out a notepad and some paper and take notes along the way. Where you're going to get the most out of this is by really listening and looking at where you're totally slaying it. Where do you need to lean in? Where's your growth? I think this might be one that you come back to multiple times to really let these concepts sink in. But if you start to practice with what is here right now, you will change your own life just by practicing these things. Now, there are 5 milestones that we're going to go over. I call them milestones because I imagine each of you walking along your own unique path. Not one of you has the same situation as the next person. There might be many similarities, but not exact. But the path to healing is universal. We are all made of the same stuff. Heart, brains, courage. You will arrive at the milestones at different times. It's okay. But as you grow in your ability and skill in each milestone, you will be getting better prepared for the next milestone. Each milestone builds on each other, builds on the last one, just like going on a long trip. Each mile marker gets you closer to your destination. And you cannot get to mile 1,000. This is a really long trip that I'm talking about. You cannot get to milestone 1,000 without first hitting miles 200, 500, 700, etc. You get the gist. There's no shortcut. But understanding and practicing these milestones is the most efficient way without endless unnecessary detours. It's your straightest shot. Straightest shot to what? To freedom, my friends, to peace, to resolution, to certainty. I want you to imagine knowing who you are in your relationship, knowing the kind of relationship that you want and knowing how to get there. It may not be easy, but you know you have chosen it with your eyes wide open, because you believe that it will yield the greatest rewards. It's not your choice because it's your default choice or the path of least resistance or one that you feel obligated to choose. You're choosing it because you know in your heart, in your gut, that it's going to push you forward to become the best version of you. You know that this is chosen out of your highest values, your highest standards. You know what you're going to accept, what you won't accept, and you don't question your decision. Even if you are temporarily alone, you are intentional about the kind of life you are creating, and you are becoming a magnet for the right person who is meant to walk alongside you, okay? Doesn't that sound good? It sounds really good, right? It is good. I'm telling you, it is good. I am living this reality right now. I'm living this reality, and this has come much by work that I have done now in my second marriage, practicing the things that I'm going to go through here today. I did not come into the marriage with these skills intact. I had to learn them and practice them, and we've had to do this together, okay? Now, let's dive into the first milestone, emotional freedom. How many of you struggle with a roller coaster of emotions from day to day? You may one day lash out at him, one day put up a wall. You may one day feel like crying and feel so sad, and one day just be full of rage. And it can change from minute to minute, right? Here's the problem with this. What we're doing when we're in this space is letting those intense emotions stay in the driver's seat and never take us where we want to go. They're leading us here, they're leading us there. And it might feel really urgent and important. For example, if we have a moment of feeling rage, it might feel really important to tell them off or to say something harsh. If we have a moment of fear, to shut down, withdraw, run, hide, right? The problem is that instead of responding to these emotions, we're reacting to them. Why do we do this? Because we want to get out of pain and fast. We don't like being in pain. We don't like the discomfort. And so when we're reacting to them, we're trying to feel something different, but we're often escalating it, making it worse, feeling different things that felt worse than they did before. We might be driving a bigger wedge. We might be pushing away the very thing that we want most. We might be so angry all the time that we are not even able to soften into some of the discussions that we need to have, right? We often are sabotaging ourselves. What this looks like, whether you stay or go, is like this. Sometimes people stay and they made their decision. They've seen changes. They feel like there's enough good there to build on, but they still have this layer of resentment and anger that's just kind of under the surface. It's just right there. Where do you think this is going to end up in 5 years, in 10 years? It's not going to end up anywhere great. And the one who's going to suffer the most is you. A common thing is people leaving the marriage thinking that that's going to kind of fix it, that they're going to feel better. And often they don't. Often they leave and they wonder what the heck happened to their life. Okay? I can relate to this. Even after I got remarried, I was single for quite a while, a few years. And after I got remarried, I did not know how to do these things. I didn't know how. I heard different things in concept, but I didn't really know how to actually do it. And some of the things I learned that I'm going to talk about later in this episode, I didn't know how to do at all. So it's stuff that I had to learn that has made a dramatic change in my marriage and in my life. I can handle when my kids tell me hard things without freaking out, right? I know how to pause. I know how to sit with it before responding. So whether you stay or go, this is something that needs to be practiced and learned. Now, learning to ride the waves of these emotions will put you and your wisdom back in the driver's seat, no longer controlled by whatever you may be feeling today. This means that when you hear his phone ding and your urge is to assume it's her and you lose your mind, you give yourself a minute to pause, to breathe, and then respond. You'll get so much more traction this way because when we come at someone with guns blazing, their nervous system's automatic response is to put up a wall or to get aggressive back, and no one wins. Okay, this is the space when we can learn to ride these waves and to wait and settle ourselves down before responding. We are going to make our wisest decisions from this space. We are going to deepen our trust that we can handle intense emotions and step into them. This means that when we are making a decision that we know is a hard one, and we know that we might feel something on the other side of making that decision, we trust ourselves that we can take it, okay? I'm going to share with you some words from a client that went through my program. Her name is Angel. She said, Andrea taught me that if you are scared, you're doing it right. We are taught that you must sit with your own discomfort. If I didn't have to feel the pain or sit with it, it simply wasn't real. She was kind of avoiding sitting with it because she didn't want it to be real. She says, this is something I struggled with the most, to sit with my own emotions, but now it's what I embrace the most. She says, she also taught me my favorite thing of all, so much so that I had it tattooed as a reminder. Ride the wave. Feel the feels and sit with yourself because what we resist persists. Then we get to work. We get back up and put our provided skills to use. We are not meant to suffer and hide our feelings. This client, she changed her entire life. She left her marriage. She has a completely different life now. After really seeing who she was married to and if it was a wise space for her to stay, she could see that they had very different values, different things going on, and she left. All right, we're moving forward to milestone 2, facing the truth. We are really, really good at self-deception. We're good at looking away from the things that we don't want to see. Many of us knew there were things amiss in our marriages, but made excuses for their behavior or avoided looking at what was true, because then we'd have to do something about it and feel the discomfort of the truth, right? This milestone is about intentionally facing it head on, looking at what is there. What do you see? This is the part where you look at these things. How did we get here? What happened? What was going on in our marriage? This is where we look at the actual facts of the infidelity. This is where we learn to be present to what is. Now, if we're only making decisions from the past, we're probably glossing over what is currently true. Okay? For example, if we are totally focused on the past, we might not be looking at what good things are here to take into account. We might be so stuck on the affair or whatever happened in the infidelity that we can't see the total transformation of the person that's in front of us. We might be so stuck in our story of them that we cannot see what is actually being presented to us now as data that needs to be evaluated. One of my past clients, her name is Julie. I remember a coaching call. She came to the call and her words were, "He did this to me. I can't believe he did this to me." And what we broke apart is that by staying in that space and not really looking at what was true today, she would try to talk with him and then get so mad, and it would end up with them both just at a stalemate, not getting anywhere. She was hurt and angry and not really able to see what was true. This was keeping her actually avoiding what was true. It kept her from seeing the things that were there, the things that she needed to know about him, about the marriage, about where to go. Once she learned to shift that thought to really just accepting this is something he did and what am I making of it? When she could really see that, she was able to make a wise decision for herself from her highest brain, from her best self. And she decided to stay in this case. Okay? When we learn to face the truth, we're evaluating why this is bruising our ego so much. Why am I so embarrassed? Why do I feel ashamed? We are looking at where these stories came from. We're even looking at our partner and getting some understanding of where some of their behaviors came from, not to justify, but to see. And from this place of truth, we are better able to get out of judgment and into discernment. And with our new emotional skills from milestone 1, we're able to see when we are moving into judgment, which, by the way, is where we move into this very black and white thinking. He is this, he is that, he's rotten, I should leave immediately, or I'm a loser, and if I weren't, he wouldn't have done this, I must not be enough, right? Getting back into discernment is when we can actually look at the data and make a wise decision based on data, okay? Based on truth within us, not just emotion. Emotions can be a guide. They can lead us in certain directions, but when we have data, that helps back up the things that we're trying to decide, okay? Now, we're also looking closely at what our thoughts are about his choices and how are those thoughts getting in the way of having what we want. For example, if we are thinking we must not have been enough, we will feel small and insignificant. When we feel small, we are asking small questions, showing up in a small, diminished, shallow way. We may have moments that sound bold and even forceful, but they are likely coming from a place of fear, not power. We are trying to get some power because we feel so small. It might be like we're grabbing for power, but in the end, we may feel even more small, more insignificant, and we may be positioning ourselves to not get the facts that we need because we feel so scared and small and unable to hear them. We certainly are not helping ourselves move forward. Now, when we can learn to see how our thinking is directly affecting the results that we are currently getting, we can start doing something new. Being mindful of what you're thinking and trying on new thoughts is a game changer. When we have the courage to face the truth, we're leaning into hard conversations, we're asking the tough questions, even within ourselves, like these. What's it like to be married to me? What's my husband saying about me and what is actually true? Okay. In a recent call with my group, one of the women was saying one of the meanings that she was attaching to what he has chosen. He's chosen to end the marriage. And in the coaching, we were able to go back in time to what kind of wife she was and really pull out the truth here that she did not know some of the things that he was unhappy about. She didn't know. But she knows, because she was able to look at all those things, even though it has stung to hear the things that he's been unhappy about, she knows that if he would have come to her and told her, she would have been totally willing to do what she needed to do to change those things. She knows that. She was just not given the opportunity. He chose to leave before she could dig in and work on these things. She had a willing heart. She just genuinely didn't know. And my guess is that many of you are in the same camp, that you really didn't know things that they were unhappy about and they didn't come tell you, right? So now when we have this information, when we have more information from a calm mind, we can move past that initial ego hurt, like that sting when it really bruises our ego at first, and really get to the deeper part of it, what we're making it mean and what we want to make it mean instead, what is true, so we can make really good decisions, okay? Again, this is not about excusing their behavior. It's about getting all the information on the table. This is where our wisest decisions will come from. This is where we are able to move from a reactive place filled with assumptions and things we simply don't know to a place of calm, assured power. And as they say, knowledge is power. When we face the truth, we strengthen ourselves to make the very best choices for ourselves and our lives. All right. Moving on to milestone number 3. When is the last time you deeply pondered what you want for your life? If you could have anything, truly anything, any kind of relationship, any kind of friendship, any kind of anything in your life, what would it be? How would you feel? How would you be able to express love? How would you be able to receive love? What else would be good in your life? What are your hobbies? How do you spend your time? This is expansive. It's more than just your relationship. Here's the truth. The only one that can really get you out of this mess and hurt is you. And to be really successful, you must become a strong visionary for your life. You must be able to hold that vision. Okay? Most of us look to the past to dictate what we think we can have in the future. We're really tied up with this old identity of who we think we are or who we don't think we are, right? To really move forward and claim our seat at the table of having great relationships, a great life, we have to see it. We have to be able to see it and hold it. Part of this is deciding the results that we want and getting to work creating them. Part of it is understanding our own values and our own standards based on our vision. Part of it is knowing what our own bottom line is, really knowing it, and knowing that we can trust ourselves to hold that bottom line. And also knowing that by holding this vision and getting to work creating it, we're actually setting ourselves up for a secure relationship because we know how to be strong co-creators of what we want. Okay? An example of this actually happened yesterday. I was talking to a woman who told me that her husband had an affair 10 years ago. She said that she made him leave, that it got really bad, that he hit pretty low, and then she brought him back home. It's been 10 years. She said they'd never talk about it. And she said, I don't know that I'll ever feel as close to him as I did before it happened. I don't know if our intimacy will ever feel as connected. And she was telling me all of these things. And keep in mind, this was not a client. It was actually somebody in my community that I happened to just be chatting with. And I said, well, you know, I happen to be an infidelity coach. And that's how she ended up telling me. But I'm like, if you were my client, and I asked her for permission to share some things. She's like, please. I'm like, if you were my client, this is where I would encourage you to get to work. Like, what's working for you here? What's not working for you here? And trusting that we are so powerful that we can be co-creators in an outcome that we love, that we are meant to have great things. When we put our money where our mouth is and get to work, that's when we start creating the connection. That's when we start pushing forward the conversations. This is where we get moving, okay? And start to change things by holding a really strong vision of what we want and getting to work, okay? Now, I will say that sometimes when my clients first start working with me, it's hard for them to see. They have a hard time seeing. They have a hard time holding a vision. I happen to be good at it. I happen to be able to see my clients and see who they are and hold a really strong vision for them. And I can hold it and share it with them and remind them what is meant for them until they can see it too, until they start practicing this new identity. And that's part of what we do in the coaching container is you can borrow my vision as you are stepping into your own. All right. Milestone number 4, relationship skills. This is a milestone that I actually recently added and am adding to in the program all the time. Why? I'm adding new content into my program because this is what I'm seeing. Often my clients decide to stay or they decide to go. Sometimes they're in a completely different relationship and they are recognizing that their old ways of communicating are not working anymore, that they're falling back into old patterns. They're doing the same things they were before, and they're so afraid of it. They're so afraid because they recognize the familiarity in it and they want to learn something different, but they don't know how. Just a couple of weeks ago, I coached someone in the group who was recognizing this and seeing this, and she just declared, I am not going back. I am not going back. And she wanted some help in knowing how to navigate really standing for something more. She was not going to fold back into how things were. And so part of that call was helping her develop her skills to do something different, to really name the patterns that were there and to do something different. What this looks like, and you practice these things throughout the program too. You learn a new skill. Okay, I teach it to you. You learn a new skill. And then you start to practice it. You practice it and it becomes a state of being for you. You're in this state where you are feeling calm, for example, where you know how to calm yourself down. You do that enough times, it's like the reps, doing the reps in the gym. It now becomes a trait. You no longer have to think about it. The neural pathways in your brain have been developed and supported so that this is now your way of doing things. You once learned this thing and now it is what you do. Okay? You're developing these new traits that are your new way of being. And in my work with my clients, I stand with them and not going back. You did not come this far to just go back to your old ways. I really felt this in my current marriage. It's been hard to see my old patterns, the ways that I would kind of close down or the ways that I would bottle things up and then blow. I have had to see my own patterns. My husband has had to see his, right? And being able to see them and try new things clumsily as we may at first has made all the difference. One example that is a relationship skill because it goes out to everyone around you is first holding yourself in high regard. Holding yourself in high regard with full respect and respecting all those in your life as fellow humans that are highly valuable. Why is this a skill? Because after infidelity, it's a tall ask, right? It's a tall ask to hold someone in high regard or to feel respect, just mutual respect as a human being. Sometimes not mutual respect. Sometimes we don't feel very respected. But what happens is that when we can hold this space as this is a person that is worthy of not being treated terribly, and I'm going to be respectful, what this will do is it will soften your responses. It will minimize unnecessary fighting. You'll be able to communicate more clearly, less reactively, and ultimately get what you want. Even if it's not with this person, you're going to learn if this is somebody that wants to learn these skills with you. But at the end of the day, you will be able to hold your head high, knowing that you respected you, that you can respect how you're showing up, right? We are not going back. We're only going forward. We are either making a better marriage, like way better, with the person we're with, or we are leaving and growing into the person that is a magnet to someone who can hold your vision and meet you there to help create it together. No one can do this for you, right? This is the relationship skill piece. This is learning new skills, new things, new ways of communicating, new ways of seeing the relationship, so you can bring those things into your relationship, whether it's with the same person that you're with now or somebody else in the future. Okay? There's no skipping over this, because these are things that we have not been taught. Most of us have not been taught how to be in a relationship in a healthy way. All right. Now, last milestone, self-leadership. This is another one that I recently added. Okay, I'm going to start this one off by sharing some words from a past client about this concept. Holly, she said, Andrea didn't empower me. She showed me how to empower myself. It's the greatest gift anyone has ever given me. And of course, there's a price tag associated with working with a professional as Andrea is, but the work she does and the tools she teaches go way beyond healing from infidelity. They are priceless life tools that show you how to be the best version of yourself. There's a big difference between being around people that lift you up, that help you feel empowered, and learning to create it for yourself, learning how to empower yourself. That is power when we are not dependent on anyone else, right? The self-leadership piece is about leading ourselves forward in every circumstance. When the chips are down, when he is not saying or doing what you want him to say or do, when he is actively invalidating you even, when others disagree with your decision to stay or leave, when your heart is heavy, when you feel scared and uncertain. This kind of personal strength is what leads someone forward no matter what, no matter how they are feeling. You are creating your own power. You give yourself the fuel. You have a self-belief that is unshakable. It doesn't mean that you always feel that way. Not at all. It means that you know how to generate it when you need to. And it does not come from outside of you. Outside of you, we can get little hits of this, but this is you learning how to give it to yourself and lead yourself forward. It's a skill to practice relying on yourself. And you then have the ability to be your own furnace that you can ignite at any time and step forward in your own leadership. Okay. Let's say that you know that your partner is still talking to the other woman. You see him sneaking in texts. You suspect it and you're watching. Self-leadership does not sit back and do nothing. Okay. Self-leadership is very proactive. In this space, you are digging deep. You are recognizing this is really, really scary and uncomfortable to look at because I don't know how this is going to end. You decide what works for you and what does not, and you face it head on. When he says he doesn't want to end it with her, you feel devastated and confused all over, but you do not stay here long. You lead yourself forward, and you also recognize your role as a leader. How? Let me tell you. You are changing generational patterns. You are giving your children a new blueprint to follow of what marriage looks like, of what relationships look like, of what it looks like to respect yourself. You're teaching different ways of communicating. You are doing away with staying small, hiding, defending, raging, all of these things. You are leading. First, you're leading yourself, and then you are leading others. You are modeling a new way of being. First to yourself, then to your spouse and your children, and then everyone around you. Okay. Everyone can recognize what has changed in her. Wow. Right? Why does this matter? You're taking the leading role in your life. You're stepping into it with so much courage. When we step into this, even when we don't know the outcome, we are calling in all the best things. We are doing our part to ensure a good outcome, a great outcome. We are laying it all on the line because we know that the highest risks yield the highest rewards. We hate that it happened, but we accept that it did, and we decide what we want to do with it. Okay? We ensure that those meant to walk this path with us will. Those that are meant to grow with us will stick around. Those that are not, we will know, and we can lovingly let them go. When we start showing up differently, and stop stepping back into those old patterns, we are applying this healthy pressure to support change, more friction that the other person will either learn to handle and grow their ability to hold it, or they'll back away because it's too hot. It's okay because you are going to draw someone in who can handle your heat your fire, your leadership, your power. Okay? When you combine all of these things, you become a force to be reckoned with. Recent words that a client of mine who just left my program, she sent these in to me. She said, "My life has completely flipped and done a 180. It wasn't just my marriage and the infidelity that was essentially worked on and healed. It was myself. I'm now able to work on things with my own parents and from my childhood. I have a 2-year-old son and it's helped me with parenting. I want to teach him to be able to process through his own thoughts and understand his thoughts and create his own results. I take the information I learned and apply it to everything in my life instead of it just being centered around the infidelity in marriage. I use it in my entire life. It has changed literally my entire life." I hear this from lots of people, that they see everything a little bit differently when we practice all of these things. Our lens of how we view the world, how we view ourselves changes, okay? Now, when we are stepping into this space of self-leadership, you're going to still have down days. You're going to have really hard days sometimes. But what's going to change is that you'll have the ability to remind yourself that you have the power within you to change your thoughts, to change your mood, to change your actions, and ultimately to change your own life. Okay, those are the 5 milestones. Again, milestone number 1, emotional freedom. Milestone 2, facing truth. Number 3, vision, becoming the visionary. Number 4, relationship skills. And number 5, self-leadership. You go all in on these things, you will change your life. Infidelity is a crisis for most people. It often shakes us to our very core. But when we rebuild with not just intention, yes, the intention is really, really important. But when we rebuild with intention and strategy and skill, we become unstoppable, much stronger than we were before, much wiser, happier, more rich, fuller. I know none of you wanted to be in this camp, this infidelity camp, but since you are here, let's get every bit of usefulness out of this experience, shall we? Let's use it. Let's leverage it to grow. Let's not give any more power to it than we already have. It's already taken a lot. Okay, we're going to take it back. If this episode has resonated with you, I'm inviting you to step into your own self-leadership and take the next step. What that means for you is individual for you. Some of you may be brand new. I invite you to keep listening. Some of you may be listening and going, that's the work. That's what I need. I want the support. I want the tools. I want all of it. Gimme. Okay? If that's you, you can go ahead and sign up. You can just take your spot and join all of us. Join the amazing tribe of women that are in this group. You can also schedule a one-on-one call with me or a team member to get questions answered to make sure that it's a good fit. Information of how to do this, the next step, scheduling a call or going ahead and joining, is going to be in the show notes. You can go find that easily. But please take the next step. Lead yourself forward, whatever that means for you. Only you have the answer to what that is. But I challenge you to do that. All right, it has been a joy and pleasure, as always, to be here with you today. Go get it, my friends. Life is short. Life is short, okay? You are not meant to suffer forever. You are not meant to hurt forever. You got to take the reins, take the control, and move things forward, okay? All right, take care, and I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.